A very good evening. Welcome to the weekend. It is exactly 8:56 p.m. East African time. The day is March 24th, 2023. The world marks Tuberculosis Day, and as efforts to raise awareness and end the epidemic continue to take shape here in Kenya, the Ministry of Health says that in the last 1 year, over 133,000 people have developed TB, among them 16,000 children. Worrying numbers right there, as TB remains a leading cause of death worldwide and is the fourth leading cause of death among infectious diseases in Kenya. But the government keen on working on modalities to regulate fees and charges in hospitals. The big question we are asking you tonight is, what are your thoughts on TB care in the country? Welcome to the weekend. This is Look Up Weekend. And of course, we have this story and so much more lined up for you tonight. Before we get into it, here are our top stories. Tonight on Look Up Weekend.
Ati wanasema ati ati njia ya kupunguza gharama ya maisha ati ni kuvaa sufuria kwa kichwa na kufanya maandamano. Sasa wewe ukivaa sufuria kwa kichwa ufanya maandamano, bei ya unga ndio itapungua.
President William Ruto criticizes Azimio demonstrations as he asks for more time to bring down the cost of living.
Ukabila vile vile iwachiliwe katika taifa letu. Angalieni jamaa na ajiri PS 51. Hapo pale anaweka wa kabila yake 13.
The government has failed to deliver on its promises, says Azimio leader Odinga, as he rallies Kisii residents to turn up in large numbers for Monday demonstrations.
Jana mwendo wa saa 11 na kitu na nusu hivi kwa ajili ya ile mvua ambao tulipokea, na ni baraka kutoka kwa Mwenyezi Mungu, lakini nao inaambatana na machanga mbalimbali kama hii ambao tumeshuhudia kwamba kulikuwa na landslide ambao ilifunga barabara yetu hapa.
And heavy rains continue to wreak havoc across the country, affecting transport and businesses. Once more, welcome to the broadcast. The hashtag is Look Up Weekend. I am Nelima. Do stay with me for the next few minutes as I bring you up to speed with stories that are making headlines across all of 47 counties. And we begin. The High Court has stopped 50 newly appointed chief administrative secretaries from assuming office pending the hearing and determination of a suit filed by the Law Society of Kenya and the Katiba Institute. Justice Hedwig Ongundi also temporarily barred the 50 CASs from earning any salary remuneration and any benefit until the court rules on the matter.
Dennis Njue Itumbi.
I, Bishop Margaret Wanjiro.
I, Wilson Sosion.
Just a day after they were sworn into office and ready to take over, the High Court in Nairobi has stopped the 50 newly appointed chief administrative secretaries from assuming office or receiving any salary. Justice Hedwig Ongundi stated on Friday that the new appointees will only assume office after a petition by the Law Society of Kenya challenging their legality is heard and determined. The LSK, through its president Eric Theuri, argues that President William Ruto acted against the law by increasing the number of CAS slots from the originally recommended 23 to 50. According to the petitioners, the president cannot constitutionally create an office in the public service except upon the express recommendations of the Public Service Commission. They further argued that the president, by nominating the 50 CAS to the office of the chief administrative secretaries against an approved office establishment of 23, has unconstitutionally created 27 extra positions. The arguments read in the quote, Article 3 of the Constitution commands all interested parties to reject any unconstitutional appointment, office or benefit as their personal obligation to defend and protect the Constitution, argues the petitioner. In a late 2022 letter by former head of Public Service Joseph Kinyua, the Public Service Commission was asked to only allow a maximum of 23 CAS positions. On March 16th, President William Ruto, however, unveiled 50 CAS nominees to the shock of many Kenyans. Justice Onguri argues in a quote, having read through the annexures, I am satisfied that interim conversatory orders are necessary. I therefore grant prayer number 2 of the notice of motion in the interim. The case will be mentioned on March 28th for further directions.
And still in the corridors of justice, the High Court has suspended the Communications Authority of Kenya's decision to censure 6 TV stations for covering anti-government demonstrations on Monday. Justice John Chigiti ruled that the case filed by Katiba Institute, then the Law Society of Kenya and journalist unions raise weighty issues that shall be heard and determined on merit at the appropriate stage. The CA Director General Ezra Chiloba, in a statement on Wednesday, threatened to revoke the operating broadcast licenses of 6 TV stations over how they cover the mass demonstrations. LSK, Katiba Institute Editors Guild and Kenya Union of Journalists, Kenya Correspondents Association and Bloggers Association of Kenya, however, moved to court to challenge the said letter, saying it violated the rules of natural justice. Let's now talk some politics. President William Ruto has now in a continuing standoff between the government and the opposition over street demonstrations dared Odinga to face him man-to-man and stop engaging poor Kenyans in demonstrations against his regime. That of state insists demonstrations are ill-advised, arguing they will not help in addressing the high cost of living, but serve to destroy the dwindling economy even further. And as our reporter Henry Tende now files, the Commander-in-Chief has asked Odinga to give him a little more time to bring down the cost of living.
Nyinyi mwenye kushindana na mtu ya kitendawili si ni mimi. Sasa ameenda badala ya kuniface mimi. Nataka nimwambie bwana kitendawili, wacha kusumbua raia.
On Friday, President William Ruto, who is on a 3-day visit to Nyamira, Kisii and Migori counties, held a public rally at Kigogi Nyaribari Chache in Kisii. This rally coming after the head of state had commissioned several projects in the area. The thorny issue of street demonstrations did not escape the attention of the president. President Ruto strongly castigating opposition leader Raila Odinga for his persistent call for demonstrations against his government.
Sasa anaulizana nini na mama boga? Anaulizana nini na makanga? Anaulizana nini na wafanyabiashara? Ameenda kulete fujo kule Nairobi. Ameenda kuvuruga biashara ya mama mboga, sijui bodaboda, ameenda kuharibu biashara ya wananchi wa kawaida. Yeye kama ako na shida, muambieni. Yeye alishindana na jamaa anaitwa William Ruto, aka Hustler. Atafute mimi.
Mr. Odinga has remained defiant that his push against Ruto's regime will not stop, announcing instead that the opposition will be holding demonstrations on Mondays and Thursdays. President Ruto has taken issue with the opposition's behavior and reminded Odinga that demonstrations will not bring down the cost of living, but will adversely hurt the economy.
Ati njia ya kupunguza gharama ya maisha, ati ni kuvaa sufuria kwa kichwa na kufanya maandamano. Sasa wewe ukivaa sufuria kwa kichwa ufanya maandamano, bei ya unga ndio itapungua? Si lazima tusaidie wakulima wetu wazalishe chakula, ndio tuhakikisha kwamba tunapeleka taifa letu la Kenya mbele.
Wangapi wanasema governor ashikane na rais tujenge Kisii? Ni wangapi wanasema Simba Arati ashikane na rais wetu? Governor, umesikia hawa ndio wenye kukuandika. Wanakuambia kwanza wewe governor ukivaa sufuria sana. Usiingie kwa hiyo mtego.
Mimi niko tayari, nitafanya na nyinyi kazi, nitafanya kazi na rais tuhakikishe kwamba tumeendelea mbele. Jana niliambia rais, sisi unajua Kisii shida iliyopo ni kwamba tuko na chakula. Hatuwezi weka sufuria kwa kichwa.
Na ukasema kwa sababu watu wa Kitutu Chache North walikupigia kura vizuri, ukasema lazima utaweka pesa hapa na hii barabara ifanywe. Mheshimiwa Rais, nataka kukushukuru sana.
Ruto reiterates his government has laid ground for economic recovery and that the cost of living will soon come down.
Huyo jamaa anipatie nafasi nipange mambo ya Kenya, nipange maendeleo ya Kenya, nipange hii barabara ijengwe, nipange hawa watoto wetu wapate elimu, nipangie ajira hawa vijana, nipange mambo ya housing, nipange vile wakulima watazalisha chakula, tuondoe njaa, awachane na kusumbua mimi na mambo ya maandamano.
Your Excellency, I will indulge you kwa biashara ya maendeleo katika eneo letu la Kisii na Nyamira.
The government remains concerned the demonstrations will destroy the gains in the journey towards economic recovery. However, with a standoff between President Ruto and Mr. Odinga, the big question is, when will normalcy return in the country? Henry Tende, Lookuptv.
And in response to that, Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga has called out President William Ruto for executing different government roles without including opposition members of parliament. The opposition leader has, however, reiterated that he will carry on with his planned mass action until the head of state is ready to address the concerns and improve the country's economy.
While camping in the same county as President William Ruto, Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga now wants the head of state to stop his plans of forming a new IEBC commission against the constitution.
Hapana, weka tume ya uchaguzi yako wewe mwenyewe. Tume ya uchaguzi tukitaka kuweka mpaka wewe na upande yetu. Nyinyi Kenya kwisha na Azimio tuketi chini. Si sawa sawa?
Odinga has urged his supporters to continue coming out in large numbers to force the Kenya Kwanza government address the high cost of living among other issues.
Sema sava ifunguliwe, sio? Sivyo? Pili, gharama ya maisha irudi chini, sio? Tatu, ukabila vile vile iwachiliwe katika taifa letu. Angalieni jamaa na ajiri PS 51. Hapo pale anaweka wa kabila yake 13. Upande mwingine, pande hii yetu ya Nyanza, Jaluo wawili.
ODM Deputy Party Leader Wycliffe Oparanya has also condemned President William Ruto for discriminating other communities on different appointments.
Ruto anasema hamna shares katika kampuni yake. Anaandika watu wake na anawacha Wakisii. Wakisii nyinyi hamna watoto wale hawana kazi. Si mnao? Wangapi hapa hawana kazi hapa mahali tuko? Ni wengi. Lakini muulize sasa hivi hapa Kisii. Kwa nini anaandika watu wake na anawacha nyinyi?
Oparanya has insisted that they will carry on with mass action until the Ruto-led administration take a keen look into their concerns.
Gharama ya maisha iko juu. Na tukiuliza tunaambiwa tupeane muda. Na shida ilikuwa yao kwa sababu walitoa ile subsidy ambayo Uhuru alikuwa ameweka katika kwa mafuta, kwa mambo ya sukari, kwa unga, kwa school fees, hiyo yote alipoingia akatoa.
As Odinga continue with his mass action call, Kenyans have been left waiting for the impact it will have on achieving Odinga's plans, especially addressing the high cost of living. Samia Dika, Lookuptv.
And two Garissa University terror attack suspects will serve their jail terms after the High Court threw out an appeal seeking to revise their sentence. The two, Hassan Edin Hassan and Mohammed Abdi Abikar, were found guilty as the masterminds of the 2015 attack that left over 148 people dead.
Convicts serving a jail term over the 2015 Garissa University terror attack got relief after the court quashed 2 counts that they were sentenced to serve 15 years. Hassan Edin Hassan and Mohammed Abdi Abikar were sentenced to 41 years imprisonment for all the counts, but the High Court has since quashed 2, meaning they will now serve 26 years. This is after the court upheld the conviction and sentence by Chief Magistrate Francis Andai on the main count of committing a terrorism act. Justice Cecilia Githua ruled that she was satisfied that the circumstantial evidence by the prosecution left no doubt that the two were aware of the said plan and the actual perpetrators of the attack. The court further ruled that their actions and those of their accomplices were premeditated acts which no doubt caused suffering to the families of the deceased victims. The two had argued that the sentence of 41 years was harsh and excessive, but the judge said she was not persuaded that the sentences were harsh and excessive, and given the punishment for these offences, she finds that these sentences were lenient. She therefore dismissed the appeal on the sentence of conviction on the count of terrorism act, but quashed the accounts of them being members of the outlawed Al-Shabaab group. The court ruled there was no evidence to prove that the two were members of Al-Shabaab. The two were sentenced in 2019 for their role in the 2015 attack that resulted in the death of 148 persons. Brana Mwai, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
By Brian White takes us to a very fast break here on the program. I see your comments are coming in fast and thick. I'll be sampling some of them at the tail end of this bulletin. But for now, we take the break. Don't go too far. Tonight on Look Up Weekend.
Ati wanasema ati ati njia ya kupunguza
December last year, it was a very bad time for me. Things in the family changed. My wife just became something else. What she was doing was like trying to show me that I'm less of a man. There, she started plotting something behind my back. But that day, I'm just awake. They have been awake up to 4 a.m., so they are going to sleep. So I go tune on my television, I'm listening to these preachings I'm following. All of a sudden, she comes from behind. She hits me with a chapati rolling pin.
Nairobi County, are you ready for the biggest TV roadshow? Lookuptv, the fastest growing family entertainment channel, will be coming to you live from your estate starting on the 30th of March to the 2nd of April. Our caravan will be transversing through the following routes: 30th March, Amboseli Gardens, Lavington; Reruta Satellite, Dagoretti Corner, Kibra, Langata; 31st March, Jogoo Road, Makongeni, Hamsa, Pipeline, Tasia, Donholm, Buruburu, Umoja, Kayole. 1st April, Juja Road, Pangani, Mlango Kubwa, Mathare, Huruma, Kariobangi, Dandora, Babadogo, Mathare North. 2nd April, Thika Road, Kasarani, Mwiki, Kahawa Sukari, Zimmerman, TRM. And finish it off live in the CBD at the Nairobi Archives. We are welcoming partners and sponsors to take advantage of this high energy, experiential and promotional opportunity to push your sales and brands in Nairobi. To book your slot, contact us now on 0110-430-158 or email us sales@lookuptv.co.ke. You can also interact with us on all our social media pages and get the latest news updates on our website, lookuptv.co.ke. Welcome on board.
Hey darling, are we still on for a coffee date?
I'm waiting for you to come and pick me up.
I should be able to pick you in a few.
It's a coffee yogurt date?
It's not just a yogurt. It's royal coffee yogurt.
Flow with the sweet taste of thick and smooth Royal Fresh coffee yogurt. Royal Fresh, the royal taste of freshness.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with Lookuptv. The hashtag is Lookup Weekend. Nancy Nelima here, and continue giving us your feedback, which I will be sampling at the tail end of this bulletin. And let's continue. More than 300 kilograms of meat has been set ablaze by police officers in Kitengela town. This comes against the backdrop of a cholera outbreak in the region. The meat, which had been abandoned by unidentified people, is said to have been dangerous and could cause devastating harm, with those that had taken some before the arrival of authorities asked not to consume.
Authorities in Kitengela set ablaze 300 kilograms of meat after cases of cholera were reported in the town. The meat, which had been abandoned in an open field, was reported to have been deadly and that a section of members of the public were consuming it. Members of the public at the scene say the meat had been abandoned by unidentified individuals at an undeveloped property in Kitengela town.
Kitu yenye mimi naweza sema labda kuelimisha vijana, hata kama tumekosa kazi, hii ni kama kuadisha maisha ya binadamu mwenzetu. Maana kitu kama hii nikikuzia wewe uweze kukula, sidhani kama usiku wa leo unaweza kuwa mahali pazuri.
Wale wamechukua nyumbani hawajafanya vizuri. Wajilia achijali kwa maisha yake. Ama ajali maisha ya watu wake. So si vizuri kwa wale wamechukua. Kama wamechukua wasitumie, warudishe, watupe, wapeleke mahali nafaa kupelekwa.
The public has been warned against consuming the meat as it could have devastating effects on their health. Those who might have taken the meat have been called upon to burn it.
Ningeomba tu, kuna hii chakula, nyama imetupwa hapa. Inaonekana ni nyama ambayo ni kama imetupwa na si nzuri na imekaa hapa. Kama ningeomba tu wakazi wa Kitengela, kama kuna mtu ambaye ameokota hii nyama, ameipata hapa akabeba kwake, hatujui kama hii nyama ni gonjwa, mwenye kutupa hapa ametupa kwa sababu amepata hii nyama haiwezi uzika. Maombi kwangu ni, kama umebeba hii nyama, kama umepeleka kwako, tafadhali naomba rudisha, utupe kwa choo, uchome, isikuliwe.
Phoebe Wangombe, Lookuptv.
And Mlolongo residents are now calling on the government to intervene in their land dispute after a private developer forcefully tried to evict them. The residents have accused the developer of going against a court order. Abigail Shira with the details.
Yes. It is a land tussle that is already in the corridors of justice. A private investor and resident of this area in Mlolongo battling for land ownership.
Kuna title deeds zangu zote ni huwa nalipia rent kila mwaka, lakini sasa maajabu ni wakati nimekuja kuanza kudevelop shamba langu hili, kuna vijana wanakimbia hapa na mapikipiki, hawawezi kuruhusu udevelop kwako. Wananiambia wewe sio Mkamba.
The residents now accusing the investor of intending to grab their land forcefully.
Tumechimba mtaro round, lakini kabla tuanze tena wameenda wakakusanyika wakiwa wengi sana na wanarusha mawe sana. Sasa inatubidi kuondokea mawe kwanza, tuone namna ya kujisaidia.
Despite the matter being in court, the investor has been accused of taking matters into his own hands, failing to wait for the ruling of the court on the matter.
Wao hawakuji na court order, na hizo barua zao si za kuaminika. Wanakuja kukata mashamba zetu, kutubomolea nyumba, wengine wanaleta ghouls usiku kutupiga, kutunyanyasa. So tunataka serikali iingilie katikati kuhusu hii shamba ya Mlinge.
Ndipo sababu wanainuka kukuja hapa kupiga watu na kuwafanya kama si watu wa dunia wala si wana Kenya wanaishi. Wanangoa mpaka makanisa ambapo tuko nayo hapa inaabudu kuleta amani katika mji huu. Nao wamekaa huko wanangoja kupewa pesa. Kama kuna mtu anasema kuna shamba yake hapa, ni kwa nini achukue maskari? Cha kuje tu aseme shamba hii ni yangu na vitakapati ni hii.
Abigail Shira for Lookuptv.
Thank you, Abigail, for that report. A family from Mount Elgon region is asking for justice after one of their twin babies was stolen at Bungoma Referral Hospital. 4 suspects in relation to the matter were arrested and taken to court but were released on bail. The court called for a DNA test, which the family says the results were received and are the opposite of what the DCI Bungoma presented to them earlier on Friday.
It was a day turned sad for Mercy Chebet and Evans Kwemoi, mother and father to the alleged stolen twin.
This is a family disament.
Their child was allegedly stolen from Bungoma Referral Hospital, leading to the arrest of 4 suspects, who were later released on 300,000 bond with the surety of similar amount or a cash bail of 80,000 shillings each.
Tangu tupate information ya kwamba Mazi amesaa watoto wawili, tumekuwa na wasiwasi sana wakati tuliambiwa ya kwamba mtoto mmoja ameibiwa. So tangu tulipata hiyo habari tumeshughulika.
Chebet holding his ground that the baby who was involved in a DNA test is the spitting image of his twin, whom she held so closely to her chest. The mother who gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl, through cesarean, says the result they got from the government laboratory in Kisumu through a family member shows that she is the mother of the child.
Tulienda DNA ya mtoto, tukapata DNA ya kwamba mtoto ni yangu. Kufika hapa Bungoma police station ananisomea ati mtoto si yangu. Kweli serikali mimi nataka wanipe tu mtoto yangu. Juu huyu mtoto mwingine analia hata sukuli silali na wako wananiambia mtoto si yangu. Haki serikali mnisaidie kweli. Mtoto ni yangu tu, siwezi sema uongo. Hata serikali mkuja tu tuone mtoto ni ya nani. Hata mkuona tu mtoto sura mtaona tu mtoto ni yangu.
According to Chebet's mother, they received the good news of the delivery of twins only for the nurse to change the story later, forcing them to report the matter to the police, who acted swiftly, arresting 4 people.
Nilikuja na yeye Bungoma hospitali, akafanywa operation watoto wawili. Kwa hivyo mmoja akaibiwa na tukafuatilia huyo mtoto tukapata. Na wakatuambia waende DNA. Wakati walienda DNA, leo hii tumeitwa tukuje tuangalie results. Kwa hivyo tumefika hapa tukaambiwa mtoto si wetu.
Mtoto. Hata tungeona mtoto kwa macho, mtoto ni yangu. Lakini tukafuata sheria ya serikali. Tukaenda DNA ikajulikana mtoto ni yangu.
Dr. Joseph Owola, Irene Otieno, Robaina Nyama and Jocelyn Nahimicha were released after a week by Senior Principal Magistrate Charles Mutai after they denied the charges. The case will be mentioned on 17th April 2023, followed by a hearing on 6th of June 2023. Cecilia Lubanga, Lookuptv.
Thank you, Lubanga, for that story. Now, 600 people have been killed by police officers in the last 4 years. This is according to a report released by a lobby group dubbed Missing Voices. The 15 civil society organizations have also called for the conclusion of investigations into the murder and dumping of bodies into River Yala.
A report released by lobby group Missing Voices indicates that 600 people have so far died as a result of Meanwhile, the Directorate of Criminal Investigation has launched an investigation into protesters who were caught on camera vandalizing property during the Azimio Monday demonstrations. The 33 faces have been accused of using demonstrations to cause damage of property, with the DCI calling on the public to provide any information that will lead to their arrest. Gladys Macharia, Lookuptv.
Moving on, as heavy rains continue to be experienced across the country, residents of A10 and Cabernet Road in Elgeyo Marakwet were left stranded all night after mudslides blocked the road. The commuters have raised concern over the poor state of their roads that has been worsened with the rains.
Jana mwendo wa saa 11 na kitu na nusu hivi kwa ajili ya ile mvua ambao tulipokea, na ni baraka kutoka kwa Mwenyezi Mungu, lakini nao inaambatana na machanga mbalimbali kama hii ambao tumeshuhudia kwamba kulikuwa na landslide ambao ilifunga barabara yetu hapa.
Time now for us to get sporty. 19 times FKF champions Gor Mahia can now register new players after FIFA lifted the transfer ban on the club. According to the club CEO Ray Orua, the ban was lifted after the club cleared arrears owed to former players, namely Ghanaian midfielder Jackson Owusu, Malian goalkeeper Adama Traore, and a fine of 998,000 shillings paid to FIFA. Like keep your governor's